Okay, today I'm going to be showing you a video on how to use alcohol ink, which is, excuse me, different than traditional India ink, because you can, well, it's an alcohol-based product, and there's a lot of different things you can do to manipulate it. So what I have found, and if you end up liking working with alcohol ink, you might want to buy these bigger sizes, and then buy like smaller little bottles like this that you can put them in, because the small little bottles are pretty expensive, and there's, you can buy like this size as well. Anyway, so I'm going to show you a few different little techniques. I'm going to be using a pipette, rubbing alcohol in a spray bottle, and then I have what is called a color extender that makes it like glossier and makes it take longer to dry. And then I have a cleanup solution, which is really basically just rubbing alcohol. And that's pretty much what this is too. So yeah, let's get started. Oh, another thing you might want to think of, you can see here I have gloves on. This stuff takes forever to come off, and it soaks through paint, and you can never really fully get rid of it. So you want to put like a trash bag down or work outside if you know you're a messier person, because this stuff gets everywhere. So I'm going to start out with some of this chili pepper red. I'm just going to kind of do a couple drops, and I am using a canvas. You can also use, I think the way you say it is Yupo paper. Might be Yupo, but I think it's Yupo. As well, I kind of like canvas is better, because I feel like with the paper, it's like you get this really beautiful thing, and it's just like this waxy kind of piece of paper. So I don't love that. But it's probably a little bit cheaper. Okay, so now I'm going to spray it a little bit with this alcohol. I sort of start messing around with it a little bit. You can, do all kinds of stuff with this. I saw a YouTube video where a guy was using an airbrush to blow it around. You can also use, for, most people, I don't even have an airbrush. You can use like a hairdryer to blow it around. And this will be more effective when I have more colors on here. But. Okay, I'm going to, let's see, maybe kind of stick with some of these reddishy colors. So now I'm going to use, this color is called Sangria, and I think all of my paint is by the brand Pinata, which is a good brand. I like it. Put the lid back on. It's starting to do some kind of cool stuff here. Let's use a little bit of this extender. And you don't have to have a pipette. Like if you use these little bottles, they have, you just squeeze them. But this is kind of, it can be like a little bit, if I don't want to stick them in all the little bottles, I can just open the top and use a pipette. But you want to be careful, because if you knock this thing over, it is never coming out. All right, now I'm going to use some of the Senorita Magenta. I'm just kind of playing around with putting the colors down a little bit. I don't really have like a thought out plan right now. Just kind of messing around with it and seeing what it's starting to head towards, and then that'll guide my decision making. definitely like how these various shades of red are sort of starting to blend together. It's pretty. Okay, I think I'm gonna move on to like I'm gonna use some of this pearlized white. So it looks like that. So that could be pretty, I think. Okay, here's a pipette. Oh, and it just kind of like shimmers. That looks pretty. That looks like, I feel like I'm doing like a chemistry lesson or something. That's cool. Well, I'm loving that. I would say a lot of working with alcohol ink is just kind of playing around until you start to get stuff in a direction you like, and then going forward in that direction. I think I'm gonna do gold. You have to make sure these are really well shaken, because they settle, especially like, I don't know if the smaller bottles do that so much, probably, but the big bottles definitely do. Okay, so I'm gonna start putting some gold down. That's really pretty too. Work my way around here. I'm gonna grab some more of the magenta and start adding it onto the page. And I don't know if you can tell, but I'm putting the lid back on every single time because this stuff is just so stain. Ooh, okay, so yeah, you don't want to do the really high setting. Did you see the interesting way that the gold is sort of piecing together right there? That looks really pretty. All right, I'm gonna go back to the sangria color, which I can't remember. I think that's the really dark one. And then the chili pepper, what does that one look like? Okay, so that's just kind of a real traditional red. I've been using the same pipette for all these different reds because I'm not real worried about it like mixing in with, you know, if a tiny bit gets into one of the containers. But if I was using like these reds and then I wanted to use a green or a blue or something, like I would definitely be using a clean pipette for that. And you can get, like this is just a plastic pipette. You can get them for very inexpensively on Amazon. You can probably get them in a lot of places, but since we're all staying home right now to social distance, I would order it from Amazon. Okay. Add some of the extender. And, oh, almost dropped one. I'm gonna use the blow dryer again on the low setting. And I kind of want to have my canvas covered a little bit more. Like I want the whole thing, I don't really want any white showing, so I'm going to kind of move it around, knowing that I will be, you know, working on finishing touches and making it look the way I want once the whole thing is filled in. So it may not look exactly the way you want if you do this to begin with, but it's just like with acrylic pours. You don't always like how it looks at the beginning either, and then you mess around with it more until you get it the way you like. So it's just kind of fun experimenting and playing around. Start developing your finished look. Okay, let's see. I think I'm gonna just use maybe some plain white. Again, just trying to work on filling in some of these spots. Oh, that's pretty. Okay. And we're gonna move it around again. And now I think I'm just gonna take my finger and kind of rub in these areas where I would like it not to look like just plain canvas anymore. Well, that's looking pretty, which is funny since I'm just like messing around with it with my finger. There's definitely like a lot of ink on the canvas right now. Kind of smoothing over the edges so it kind of rounds off. I mean, I'm one of those people who always likes to paint the sides of my canvas. And so maybe when this is dry, I'll go back and kind of hit the sides more, but for now, I'm definitely really liking how that's looking right there. I am going to use a torch and see if that helps it dry a little faster. I know I've used these before. I just don't want to get too close. Well, I just lit it on fire. So yeah, you might want to be careful with that. I have lit mine on fire before, but that one was a pretty big one. So maybe don't use that. Because especially, if you're younger, you definitely don't want to be doing that because you don't want to light your house on fire. And if I had had a very small amount of alcohol-based ink, then that would have been fine. But I mean, the whole thing's filled, so I should have probably thought about that a little bit more before I tried that out. All right, I'm gonna try blow drying it for a bit. Kind of the, crux of how you do this. And then I would just keep messing with it until I got it the way I liked, but you probably don't want to watch me do this for like an hour. So this is the general idea. I'm definitely loving the whole metallic vibe and how it's separating, and it's looking really pretty. And I love how the white mixed in with the red. And once this is more dry, I'm going to go back in and start playing around with the reds a little bit more and getting it a little bit more filled in the way I would like. So hopefully this is helpful. And yeah, be careful if you use a torch. Maybe don't use one at all, just use a blow dryer. Thanks, guys.